Hi everyone. This is the Millennium Duelist at Ignister. As you all know, a new wave of support for the Yubel archetype was announced not too long ago, and I say it's about time. I've always wanted Yubel legacy support because I loved Yubel in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime. Also, for those who don't know, I made a video covering the Yubel archetype a while back, but now that we got new support and I have become a better editor, I want to not only recover the old cards, but go over the new support and see how they help my favorite demonic entity. So prepare yourselves. It's time for Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetype, Yubel. Okay. First, we're gonna go over the core 3 members of the archetype and what all our new support revolves around, and who better to start the list than the Guardian Spirit itself. Yubel is a level 10 Dark Fiend type effect monster. Its attack and defense are 0 and have the following effect. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. Before damage calculation, when this face-up attack position card is attacked by an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. During your end phase, tribute one other monster or destroy this card. When this card is destroyed, except by its own effect, its owner can special summon one Yubel Terror Incarnate from their hand, deck, or graveyard. Spoilers, Terror Incarnate is an evolutionary form of Yubel, but we'll get to that in a moment. For now, let's talk about this card. This card is pretty powerful. There's no limit to how it can be summoned, so the sky's the limit on bringing it out. It acts as a wall that punishes your opponent for attacking it, and if your opponent destroys it with a card effect, they'll be punished greatly because now you get to summon a stronger monster. Also, its floating effect can be triggered not just by your opponent, but you too. Also, it doesn't say it needs to be destroyed on the field. So if you play this card in Fire Kings, you can easily use their archetype effects to pop Yubel and trigger the floating effect. However, the downsides of this card is that it can only be a wall on the field because it only deals damage when it's attacked. Also, the tribute cost is steep to keep Yubel on the field. Thankfully, our new support helps with that cost. Most of the time you're gonna use this card to prop its floating effect to summon Terror Incarnate, but there's no denying that this card is the heart and soul of this archetype and will fight by your side no matter what. Just make sure it doesn't blow up too much. Yubel's been through a lot of heartbreak, and I hope this new support brings some joy to our guardian angel. Yubel Terror Incarnate is a level 11 Dark Fiend type effect monster. Its attack and defense are 0 and have the following effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by Yubel, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. Before damage calculation, when this face-up attack position card is attacked by an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. During your end phase, destroy all other monsters on the field. When this face-up card leaves the field, you can special summon one Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare from your hand, deck, or graveyard. As stated before, this is the evolved form of Yubel, and boy is this an upgrade. It can only be summoned by base Yubel's effect, which can miss timing. It also maintains most of the base Yubel's effect, except now instead of a maintenance cost, we now have a monster field wipe effect that may destroy your own monsters as well as yours. But if you play Fire Kings, you can trigger the effects of your on-field monsters. It does maintain the downsides of base Yubel's effect, and its field wipe won't help clear your opponent's board if they have monsters who have effects that protect them from card effect destruction. But with this creature on the field, it'll certainly be bringing the terror to your opponent. But that's not all. Like the base Yubel, Terror Incarnate also unleashes a stronger form, which is the final and strongest form when destroyed. Yubel the Ultimate Nightmare is a level 12 Dark Fiend type effect monster. Its attack and defense are 0 and has the following effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned by Yubel Terror Incarnate, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. At the end of the damage step, if this face-up attack position card battles with an opponent's monster, inflict damage equal to that monster's attack to your opponent, also destroy that monster. the final form of Yubel, and honestly it's kinda bland. Sure, it doesn't have a maintenance cost or Terror Incarnate's effect, but other than that it only has protection from battle. Normally that would have been fine because base Yubel and Terror Incarnate have floating effects that benefit from their destruction, but Nightmare doesn't, so if your opponent destroys it, you get nothing and you'll have to restart the whole process of getting Yubel out, popping it, getting out Incarnate, popping it, and getting back here. It's honestly not worth it. Its effect finally makes Yubel an offensive threat because now you can crush this into any monster that lacks card effect destruction, destroy it, and deal some nice burn. Unfortunately, we no longer live in a time where that happens. In this modern game, your opponent will fill their field with powerful monsters that either negate this card's effect and destroy it or be unaffected by it. A lot of effort needs to go into summoning this and keeping it on the field, but in the end it's a complete nightmare. Now, these two aren't technically part of this archetype, but they require base Yubel to be summoned, and I covered them in my previous Yubel archetype video, so let's do this. Neos Wiseman is a level 10 light spellcaster type effect monster. It has 3000 attack and defense with the following effect. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from your hand by sending one face-up elemental hero Neos and one face-up Yubel you control to the graveyard, and cannot be special summoned by other ways. This card cannot be destroyed by card effects. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the attack of the monster it battled, and you gain life points equal to that monster's defense. Wow! This card is horrible. Effect destruction immunity is valued more these days than battle destruction, and its battle effect not only can damage your opponent but can also boost your life points up. The downside is obviously its summoning condition. In order to summon this, you'll need to have elemental hero Neos and Yubel on the field and this card in hand to summon it. The worst part of this is that this card was a fusion monster in the anime, which means it was way easier to summon, and in the anime it had a floating effect to summon Neos after it was destroyed. This card doesn't. Making this card is not worth the trouble. But it's not entirely not its fault. This card came out while having this as a fusion monster like this was pretty power crept at the time, but thankfully we're now at a time where power crept is the name of the game. We can now have a powerful purpose for this card in the form of Elemental Hero Neos Kluber is a level 9 light spellcaster type fusion effect monster. It has 3000 attack and 2500 defense, requires Elemental Hero Neos and Yubel, and has the following effect: must be fusion summoned. Before damage calculation, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can inflict damage to your opponent equal to that opponent's monster's attack. If this face-up card is destroyed by battle, or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while its owner controls it, you can special summon one Neos Wiseman from your hand or deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. You can only use this effect of Elemental Hero Neos Kluber once per turn. Now this is more like it. Since it's a fusion monster, it's way easier to summon than Wiseman. Unfortunately, it loses its effect that protects it from effect destruction, but now if it's destroyed or leaves because of your opponent, then you get to bring out Neos Wiseman. It still makes Neos Wiseman a brick, but now it can be a plan B in case you lose Kluber. Now, before we move on, you're all probably wondering what Kluber means. Well, I looked it up, and Kluber is a German and Jewish surname that means clever one. So it looks like whoever decided to get this card printed was a Kluber. Okay, now that we got through the old cards and the cards that relate to it, now we can go through the new support. Spirit of Yubel is a retrain of the original Yubel, sporting all the original's level, attribute, type, and stats, but has a new modern effect. Cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card is destroyed, you can special summon one of your Yubel that is banished or in your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Spirit of Yubel once per turn. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned, you can take one spell/trap from your deck that mentions Yubel, and either add it to your hand or set it. Now this is so cool. Its effect makes it a straight upgrade because now it can special summon itself and it can search the new spell and trap support, and those are pretty strong. Also, if this card gets destroyed, you can summon the original version from anywhere, so you can start the evolution line or use it as material for the new fusion monster. Also, you can keep this in your hand to defend yourself from direct attacks, which makes Yubel the perfect guardian. Even in spirit. Graced Grinder Golem is a level 8 Dark Fiend type monster. It has 3000 attack and 300 defense and has the following effect. You can reveal one Yubel monster in your hand, special summon this card from your hand to your opponent's field, then you can special summon the revealed monster to your field. You can only special summon Geist Grinder Golems once per turn. Once per turn, during damage calculation, if this card battles a Yubel monster, your opponent gains 3000 life points. If you special summon Yubel while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card to your opponent's field. This is a retrain of Grinder Golem, which was used in the anime by Yubel to generate tokens to tribute summon Yubel and give the opponent a powerful monster to attack with Yubel to trigger Yubel's anime effect, so it's only right that this monster has an effect that allows you to summon a Yubel from your hand while summoning Greased Grinder to your opponent's field. You'll only be able to summon Yubel and Spirit of Yubel because Terror Incarnate and Ultimate Nightmare cannot be special summoned except by their own effects, but it's fine because you'll be focusing on base Yubel anyway. Also, since Greased Grinder Golem will be on your opponent's field if its battle effect activates, you'll gain those life points since you're the opponent. Also, Greased Grinder Golem's effect gives your opponent a huge monster for Yubel to crash into, which will mean a lot of damage for your opponent thanks to the new continuous spell. With this card, you'll always be on the Golem to grind your opponent. Samsara Regenerating Lotus is a level 1 Dark Fiend type monster. It has 0 attack and defense and the following effect. You can tribute this card, special summon one Yubel monster from your deck. During your opponent's turn, when a monster effect is activated while you control a Yubel monster, quick effect, you can tribute this card. That effect becomes destroy one Yubel monster on the field. During your end phase, if you control Yubel and this card is in the GY, you can take this card and either add it to your hand or special summon it. You can only use each effect of Samsara Regenerating Lotus once per turn. This is a retrain of another monster Yubel used. Samsara Lotus. In the anime, Yubel used Samsara Lotus's effect to maintain the tribute cost Yubel requires in the end phase. This card acts as your main starter. You can tribute it to summon either original Yubel or Spirit Yubel to start your plays. You can also, if you already have Yubel on the field, keep Lotus on the field and have your opponent trigger its effect to tribute this card to alter that monster's effect to destroy Yubel instead to summon the next Yubel evolution, depending if you destroy base Yubel or Terror Incarnate. Also, this card's effect to resummon or add itself during the end phase can either have Lotus stay on the field to trigger its effect again the next turn or keep it in your hand for later. This card does it all to support both the old Yubel playstyle and the new one. In addition, this card is searchable, being a level 1 monster to be searched with 1/1 and having 0 attack, being searchable by Pyre Reese map. This makes Samsara Regenerating Lotus everything a modern playstarter needs to be, so you can have your opponent in the grip of your hand. Now we have one more new support monster, and it's honestly my favorite. Yubel Das Uaglebawakter is a level 12 Dark Fiend type fusion effect monster, requiring Yubel and one or more effect monsters on the field, and has the following effect. If this card is fusion summoned, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each fusion material used for its summon. You can only use this effect of Yubel Das Uaglebawakter once per turn. Cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, you take no battle damage from battles involving this card. If this card battles an opponent's monster, at the end of the damage step, inflict damage to them equal to that monster's attack, and if you do, banish it. This is Yubel's most powerful evolution, and I got to say that this will be the Archetype's ace card for years to come. It's finally made indestructible in battle and card effects, and not only that, it banishes any monster it battles, so it bypasses any card effect immunity. It still doesn't help that it still doesn't help against towers, but you'll still be able to deal a massive amount of effect damage. Speaking of that, the fusion materials have to be the best part of this card. It's the same reason Starving Venom Fusion Dragon was so good when it came out. The materials are Yubel and one or more effect monsters on the field. Not just yours. Your opponents as well. This means this card is Super Polymerization's new best friend. You'll be able to remove your opponent's entire field, get a powerful boss monster on the field, and deal a huge amount of effect damage. Just fusing 2 monsters will deal 1000, but if you fuse the max of 12 monsters, that's 6000 points of damage. Okay, that amount would take a lot of setup, but it's possible. Plus there isn't a restriction of how many times this Yubel can be fusion summoned or its burn effect being even once per turn. I smell FTKS with this. I believe this card is perfect for the modern game and will most likely see a lot of play, so you better watch out for it. Now that we got through the monster support, let's move on to the spell and traps. Nightmare Pain is a continuous spell with the following effect. During your main phase, you can destroy 1 dark monster in your hand or face-up field, and if you do, add 1 Yubel, or 1 card that mentions it, from your deck to your hand, except Nightmare Pain. You can only use this effect of Nightmare Pain once per turn. While you control any Yubel monsters, all opponent's monsters must attack them, if able. Your opponent takes any battle damage you would have taken from battles involving your Yubel monsters instead. This card acts as a powerful search machine. You can use it to search Spirit of Yubel, Greased Grinder Golem, Samsara Regenerating Lotus, and our other spell/traps. Also, the cost helps us trigger Yubel and Spirit of Yubel's floating effect to summon another Yubel monster. Also, it forces your opponent to attack any of your Yubel monsters so you can use their powerful burn effects. And its last effect also gives the Yubel evolution line what it desperately needed. It may appear useless due to the effect shared by all Yubel monsters that prevent you from taking battle damage when they battle, therefore, neither would your opponent take damage. However, this can be useful whenever your Yubel monster's effects are negated, allowing you to still attack with it and inflict damage regardless. Also, we'll finally be able to show our opponent how much pain Yubel had to go through. Mature Chronicle is another continuous spell with the following effect. Each time a Yubel monsters and/or a monsters that mentions Yubel is special summon, place 1 Chronicle counter on this card. You can remove up to 5 Chronicle counters from cards you control to activate one of these effects. 1. Special summon 1 Yubel from your graveyard. 2. Add 1 of your banished cards to your hand. 3. Banish 1 card from your deck. 4. Destroy 1 card on the field. 5. Add 1 Super Polymerization from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Mature Chronicle once per turn. This is a retrain of Spell Chronicle. A powerful spell Yubel used in her duel against Jaden, and now its power to tell the future lies with Yubel. It may take a bit of work to accumulate a lot of counters, but these effects are pretty strong. Especially the last effect to get you this archetype's best friend, Super Polymerization. This card can help you set up the summon of Yubel das Uaglibawakter, but it's, in my opinion, a bit slow and the effects are situational without the right setup, but don't worry. This chronicle tells the story of our last card. Eternal Favorite. It's a continuous trap with the following effect. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects, but you can only use each of the following effects of Eternal Favorite once per turn. Special summon 1 of your Yubel monsters that are banished or in your graveyard. Neither player can activate cards or effects when it is special summoned. If you control Yubel, discard 1 card and send this face-up card from your spell and trap zone to the graveyard. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from either field as material, including a Yubel monster. So this card is pretty juicy. It's either a continuous rebirth for your Yubel or Spirit of Yubel that can't be responded to in a Super Polymerization for Yubel. And it doesn't you need to summon our new fusion monster. We can summon any fusion monster as long as we use Yubel as one of its materials. This is a powerful trap and had the most tear-jerking anime reference I've seen in a while. Just look at Yubel holding onto Jaden after he sacrificed himself to be one with Yubel for all eternity and show Yubel how powerful their love is. One of my favorite moments. Well, with that out of the way, that's all the new support covered. What did you all think? Do you think this support will make Yubel meta, or will Yubel have to sit in even greater despair and pain until more powerful support arrives? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you play Yu-Gi-Oh then you should try playing Yubel with the support and see for yourself the power of pain.